Primus helping you with the OSHA Compliance Help Show. And I am going to talk about, let's make sure you can hear me. So if you can't hear me, let me know. Let's see if you can or not. I'm not seeing too much. Okay, it looks like you're getting me. I was looking for the my mic kind of seeing to see if everything was going there, but it looks like you guys are getting me. So let's do this show on permit required confined space and making sure that you are OSHA compliant with permit required confined space. I'm currently teaching a class like I was on Tuesday, so therefore I'm going to make this one a nice quick one because I'm going to take a break with my students after this as well. So I want to make sure I get this one in for you, but then also I'm going to take myself a little break. So this one's going to be quick. First, let's talk about the definition of permit required confined space. So let's go to OSHA.gov, and you've got a space that it has to meet this definition, okay? So this is what you're going to be calling a permit required confined space by this definition. So first, a person can get in and out of this space, so it can't accommodate a body. It can't accommodate somebody being in there. I shouldn't say a body, like if you're going to hide somebody that's dead in there. I don't mean it that way. But you can accommodate someone physically being in there. And then the next thing for the definition is there's limited ways of egress and access, meaning limited ways to get in and to get out. So that's your other definition. And then the third thing is that the space itself was not meant for continuous human occupancy, meaning you're not there to set up your office, kick back, and you're like hanging out in this space. That's not what it's there for. You're in there to do your work and get yourself out. So that is a confined space. That is not required. It doesn't meet the definition of permit required confined space yet. So the only reason that's going to make it the difference is adding a hazard. And this is something we talked about in class. So the class has been great. You guys have been helping me if my students are looking. Thank you for helping me with this topic because I had no idea what I was going to talk about. So if you have any comments or questions or anything, go ahead and put it in the chat box and I'll answer your questions and comments directly to. If it's outside of permit required confined space, I'm good with that as well. So you don't really have to answer that one as well. So, good morning to you, Facebook user, which I cannot see. Anonymous Facebook user. Good morning. I'm looking good. Ooh, look at that. All right. Anyway, so if you have any comments, go ahead and put that in as well. If you're watching me live and you're doing the thumbs up and the like and everything else, unfortunately, I can't see it. So I'm thinking this anonymous Facebook user is probably Jay Allen because he's he's the one that is gonna, he always messes with me, which I love. So I can't see the thumbs, but I can actually see comments. So go ahead and put in comments. I like the thumbs. I'll look at that later. So back to what I was talking about. Ooh, anonymous Facebook user. I nailed it. Permit required confined space is when you have a hazard. So let's look at the OSHA website and let's see what they're going to start describing as your hazards. And it could be really anything, right? So I'm going to share my screen real quick with you. And again, this is going to be a short one. So if you're contemplating sending me a message, I would do that one because I'm on break from my students and they're on break from me. So they're relaxing and everything. I got to get back on with the students at 11:30 Eastern time. So we're making this quick. So confined space, the 3 conditions I told you about over here is listed on this. And this confined space is one of those things that you will see for OSHA. OSHA does have, and this is in 1910, section 146 in general industry. If you're in construction, then that is going to be subpart AA, and I'll show you that a little bit later. So limited means of egress and access, but what is a hazard is what I'm going to show you here. So once you introduce a hazard, then all of a sudden this space now needs to uh, be contained. So you have a hazardous atmosphere definition over here. That's one of the conditions. That means if this is there, I gotta have myself a permit in this confined space. So that's one of the things. If you're doing any hot works, that's definition over here of what hot works is. If you have a condition that is immediately dangerous to life and health, that's a hazard as well. So those are things that will constitute, do you have a permit required confined space, or do you just have a confined space? So permit required confined space is going to give you a hazard in this space that is limited means to person can't get into the space, limited means of egress and access, meaning limited to get in and get out, and then also the last thing is you're not meant to be there in continuous human occupancy. I think there's a definition of limited as well, so I'm just going to check and see entry. Okay, it is not in there in this part. I believe construction may have it, but I will not bore you with that one. If you have any questions that you need to be answered specifically on confined space, go ahead and put it in. So that's your definition first of permit required, not permit required. Then the next thing that you're really going to want to make sure that you realize is first you're going to have to, or I should say next, make sure that for OSHA compliance, you coordinate with everybody that is going to be on that site that is going to enter into the space, and that we're all going to be on the same page and we're all going to have the permit reviewed. We're going to classify what contaminants are in this space by doing some air monitoring. Monitor your oxygen level first, because most of your sensors need oxygen in order for it to work correctly. And then you're going to measure for explosive atmospheres next, because that's pretty immediate. If something happens, it's going to blow up. You're going to see that right away. And then the next thing you're going to do is any other toxic environment you're going to measure for. So those are the three priorities of measuring the air, analyzing the air. You're going to analyze it in 3 stratospheres. That's part of the program. Actually, I don't need to share that because we're just chatting. So as part of the program as well, when you're doing your measuring of your atmosphere, you want to get the meter down. So let's say it's the plane going down, right? So get the meter down. Don't just pick it up real quick and then read the meter. That's not helping you. You want to actually lower down an actual sensor, and you're going to leave it there. Let the gas collect, working up into the handheld pumping meter, portable gas meter that you're holding, and then let that volume kind of go through there. When that meter reading stabilizes, that's what you record on your written permit. Then go ahead and drop it down a little bit more to the middle of that vessel. Same thing. Drop it down to the bottom of the vessel. You want to get as low as you can without submerging your probe. And then, again, the length of that tube going into your meter is going to give you a reading. You want to make sure you give that sensor, the multimeter that you're holding, plenty of time for it to get the accurate reading of whatever the bottom is. So you might have to do a function of math that says, I have this diameter tank, and you do it length times width times breadth times your depth. Now you got a cubic feet. Or if it's circular, then you're going to do pi r squared times the depth. Then you have now the cubic feet of oxygen or air that's in that tank. Now what you're looking for with that is the volume of air it's going to take for you to either purge that vessel, or the amount of time, depending on the size of the actual tube that you're using to get that sample in, how long it takes for that meter to stabilize the reading. So whatever it is, you want to calculate that. You want to write that thing down and keep that out there for you so that you know for sure this is the exact level of contaminants for each stratosphere of this vessel. And now let's start doing the protective systems that we're going to need. And everybody's in this meeting. You, the contractor, your guys. If there's anybody, the three people that are involved in this is going to be the supervisor, the attendant, and the entrant. All those are going to be authorized and trained. So your supervisor, the attendant, and the entrant, they will all be trained in this thing. OSHA requires that you have them not only trained, but they're aware of policy procedures. You have a rescue system set up for them. And if you do not, you are definitely going to have yourself an OSHA violation. Rescue is very important to have for any permit required confined space entry. So if you do not plan on rescue, or if you keep saying, oh, well, we'll just call 911, that's not going to work, especially if 911, your local fire department, does not have people trained for permit required confined space entry. Not every fire department has that. So you will then be in violation for that action. So therefore, make sure that you know for sure your local fire department has trained personnel for confined space entry rescue. Then, when you're about to do your rescue, you want to make sure that your permit team or confined space rescue team isn't out on another job. So that means you have to coordinate with the team leader to say, we're going to do our entry this time, this location, this, and also this is what we're going to be addressing. Hydrogen sulfides. We're going to have a possibility of anhydrous ammonia because of the plant that's next to us. There's a possibility, since we're in a high traffic area, that now you can have exhaust fumes that are going down into this vessel. If there's an engulfment hazard, whatever it is, you need to let them know so they can prepare and be able to cut down the amount of time it takes to rescue, and then also have the significant amount of equipment that they need to do a quick rescue. So that's important as well. General industry, again, you're going to be in 1910, section 146. Go through section 146 for you. And construction, you're going to have your own subpart, which is subpart AA. They're mostly the same except for 5 different variables, and most of that's coordination between the contractor and subcontractor, and then taking roles on. That's really the big difference between construction and general industry, but most of the standard is going to be the same. All right, so any questions or comments, go ahead and put that in the box. But as I told you, this is a quick one because I have to get back to my class. They're in the next 15 minutes, the class is going to be expecting me to be there, and I need to stretch, get myself some water because I've been drinking coffee all morning and I can't be caffeinated this long. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to my class. Thank you guys for being there. And again, if you have not seen or listened to, not seen, listen to the podcast, whatever device that you're listening to me on or you listen to podcasts on, then go ahead and search for Safety Consultant with Sheldon Primus and subscribe to the podcast. It's going to help me out. So Safety Consultant with Sheldon Primus, subscribe to the podcast, and that's where you could hear me. So I'm going to take my break, get back to my class at the bottom of the hour. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next Tuesday for when we do these OSHA compliance help shows. It's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays if I'm not working and I can't get you guys in on a break like I did today. Then it's going to be where I'm going to see you guys in the evening, and I'll let you know. But next week, we're pretty good for Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 Eastern Standard Time. Go get them.